Leadership isn't taking a position that 85% of the world agrees with. That's not leadership. That's follow. Leadership is taking a difficult position, taking an unpopular position, doing something where you know you're going to be criticized, but it's what you believe is right. San Diego has a real history of leadership, and I think a lot of that ties to the military. As such a town, I'm a little biased as a Marine, but that's the essence of what the military is. It's leadership, it's honor, it's sacrifice, it's service, it's courage. You see a lot of civic leadership. You see people taking the charge to try and transform our city and make it better, whether it's investing through philanthropy. You certainly see it in the business community. We have tremendous leadership in the innovation sectors. Here at Qualcomm, we're on the forefront of leadership of mobile transforming the world. You see it in biotech, you see it in healthcare and energy technology, and you definitely still see it in our military and defense community. I think leaders in the community have an obligation to spend time with those that are coming up, because those are the leaders of tomorrow. And if we don't invest the time in mentoring and helping us, then there'll be a tremendous void. Supporting efforts that are trying to provide leadership skills to the next generation are vital to our future success. Leaders have an obligation to invest in those who are on their team, who they want to lead, to explain why we're doing what we're doing, to explain the values that we hold, to explain why it's important. And anytime someone's going to be in a leadership position, it's vitally important that they conduct themselves with integrity, or they lose that ability, they lose that confidence of those to lead. Every organization I was a part of, again, whether it was the military or government or now in the private sector, I always said, this is where we're going, and this is what's expected of them. And as long as people know exactly what's expected and what happens if they fulfill it or they don't fulfill it, then everyone knows how to operate, and it makes you much more effective. One of the things that's really frustrating is when people just say, well, you just can't do it. And you say, why? And they go, because that's the way it's always been done. And a great example of this is for years and years and years, everyone said you couldn't run a 4-minute mile. It was physically impossible. The human body could not run a 4-minute mile. And then one guy, Roger Bannister, said, I don't believe that. I think you can run a 4-minute mile. And you know what he did? He ran a 4-minute mile. And you know what happened after he did it? People all over the world were doing it. Because it wasn't that you couldn't do it. It was just that everyone had let, that's the way it's always been done, slow them down. And so that argument, that's the way it's always been done, I think is really stifling the leadership and advancement. I always say my organizations be a yes if, not a no because person. And the difference is really interesting. If someone comes up with a big idea and it's a challenge and maybe you think it can't be done, a lot of folks will say, no, you can't do that because, and they'll list all the reasons why you can't do that. And it just sucks all the energy out of the room. As opposed to saying, yeah, you could do that if you could overcome the following challenges. And so I think having an environment that says, hey, we're going to look at the world different. We're going to be willing to try things that haven't been tried before, and maybe we'll fail. But if we fail, we're going to go down swinging. When we did Chelsea's Law, I don't know how many times I can tell you can't do that. I had one senator come up to me and say, that bill has been tried 105 times and failed every single time. Now, if I had just said, well, okay, then if no one else can do it, we're not going to try. We wouldn't have had one of the most sweeping public safety measures in the history of California. If you've been in a war, you realize that the conflicts that we have are pretty minor. And at the end of the day, it's usually just a lack of understanding of the perspective of the other person. And when you sit down and you spend time and you understand, hey, they're a good person, you're a good person, you both want the same thing, your business to succeed, you want to have more children learn, you want to sell more of your product, then you start understanding where the other person comes from, and you can start resolving those conflicts. But people got to have those personal relationships and that ability to sit across the table from each other and in good faith talk about what each other are trying to do. I had a guy, I'll never forget, Lou Fleming was his name. I was a college kid. I was working in a lumber yard, driving forklifts and stacking wood to pay for school. And we had this little guy, Lou Fleming, used to come in the evenings, and he would get our pine scraps he would whittle. And he was a Marine, Iwo Jima veteran. And him really telling me the stories of what they went through in Iwo Jima, 8,000 Marines died in less than a month. One of the biggest battles of World War II. And the confidence that his men had in him and the difference that they made. I always looked at him as a role model. He's been gone for a long time. But I'll never forget Lou Fleming. You only get one shot in life, and I got a lot of buddies that didn't come home from war, and I miss them. But I think that we all have a sense of obligation to make a positive impact in this world, and you do that by really leaning forward in life and picking big issues. And sometimes you'll fail. People say, "Oh my gosh, you ran for mayor and you lost. It must have been awful." That was great. It's a great experience. I mean, I wish I'd won, but you've got to put yourself in positions where you think you can make a real difference, and don't be afraid to fail.